Coming to you live from Arcadia in beautiful Hamburg, Germany, at local time being 12:24 a.m. I'm Tuttles, joined by Dratnos, and today, interesting developments in the race. We got out of split prison.
Yes.
A lot of guilds have now downed mythic bosses, and our top 5 guilds are exactly what we expected.
Indeed. The exact same top 5 as were the top 5 last time are the current top 5. In first place right now, we have Liquid, 5 out of 11 mythic, killing Prototype Pantheon several hours ago. They are now working on the Lihuvim encounter.
Oh my god.
And they wiped 2 Enrage at 19% last I saw. So it's possible we'll see big developments on that as they refine the strategy and get it dead. Or it's possible that they'll find out, oh my goodness, this Enrage is real, and maybe they need to go and collect some of their, the M+ gear that's outstanding for them, or even potentially try something like Halandris. So...
in addition to that, Echo also downing Prototype Pantheon. That was pretty big for them. Method at 3 out of 11 Mythic. SK Pieces also at 3 out of 11 Mythic. And then BDGG at 2 out of 11 Mythic, downing Skolex.
Yeah, so it's sort of bad news for BDGG because as an American guild, right, they had 16 hours on Echo, Method, and SK Pieces, and they're already now behind the European competitors, especially Method and SK Pieces, with whom they compete most closely.
Yeah.
So I am a little bit worried about the plan for BDGG, especially because I don't think they're done with splits yet. I think they're doing this weird sort of hybrid prog where they're doing Mythic prog as they're filling splits, and then they're like trying to get some splits done, and then they're going back to Mythic prog, which it's definitely a rough situation to be in.
Yeah,
for
that's
them.
really tough.
So hopefully we can see some more bosses get on the board, but I do, again, we've got a 2-boss lead already for Liquid and Echo, the 2 titans of our Race to World First.
They are very far ahead, by the way. Anyways,
Yeah.
all right. So first off, we're going to talk about Liquid's day. I think, okay, Dasegni, fairly easy fight, yeah. So like yesterday, we said that they were about to go into Mythic, I think is where we left off.
Yes, we as we finished recording, they killed Vigilant Guardian, and then after that, they killed the next few in very rapid succession. By the time our video got uploaded, they were already 3 or 4 out of 11 Mythic. So
my bad.
Potentially, by the time this one goes up, there'll be 6, maybe there'll be 7. They burn through bosses. But yeah, so they were 4 out of 11 when they went to bed last night, and they were 4 out of 11 with a best of 1% on Prototype Pantheon. Echo has just gone to bed at 5 out of 11. So comparing the timestamps of like when you went to bed on the second night, Echo has actually caught up a little bit and started to close that 16-hour gap that separates the 2 teams at the start of the race, which is natural because they have more information coming from playing from behind, right?
Okay, so let's talk about what Liquid did. Vigilant Guardian very quickly went down. Then they started pulling Skolex, which they did, I think, in 4 pulls.
Almost one-shot it.
Hit Enrage on 2 of them with like non-clean pulls, which made me very scared for my guild, but for the Race to World First competitors with 19 tier sets or 20 tier sets on their Raiders, it's kind of normal that they were able to kill Skolex relatively quickly. There wasn't like a lot of prog that went on, but made me kind of sus. Dasegni seemed very easy. We're going to talk about Echo's Dasegni. They had a pretty interesting strategy for what they did with that. Boss Artificer, I think that whenever we were talking about Artificer, it was more like a dance, and it was just like, how are the guilds going to get the tank over the lines? What are they going to do about some of these overlaps? It seems like a pretty decent learning curve for Liquid. It didn't take them too many pulls. I think it was around 10. And then Prototype Pantheon, like Dratno said, they went to bed with a best of 1%. They ended up killing Prototype Pantheon in somewhere in the range of like 35 pulls, which... Man, that fight is a steep healing check. They also did run that Survival Hunter.
Padra on the 4 set playing Survival Hunter in there. Very cool. Very good spec once you get that 4 set. It's a powerful set bonus that they have access to in those AoE situations. Prototype Pantheon, we've seen a couple specs. Tettles has earlier been on record as saying no Affliction Warlocks would see play. We've seen 4 so far. We've seen 2 from Liquid and 2 from Echo in the Prototype Pantheon kills.
I'm going to redact my D tier ranking. We'll upgrade them to C. Limited use, really fucking bad on everything else.
Prototype Pantheon, as I said. As I said all along.
You were
Prototype
right.
Pantheon, Affliction Warlock fight.
You were right.
Let's talk a little bit about the 2 comps, actually, that the 2 guilds use, because, of course, then Echo ended up basically following the footsteps of Liquid.
I think they went on a little bit different route. They went Dosegni first and then Artificer.
Yeah, Liquid killed. So we actually have some slight differences in choice because in third and fourth also Method currently 3 out of 11 killing Artificer, and SK Pieces 3 out of 11 killing Dosegni. So a couple different choices, and we'll see which of those guilds then is able to more quickly kill the other one and get to 4 out of 11.
So I think for we can move on to Echo's Day. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah,
I think the biggest things for Echo's Day was like, for one, a little bit difference in route. I thought they had an interesting Dosegni strat where they had all 20 of their players Venthyr, double Door Shadows, Theatar thing, if they could get away with it. Some people weren't playing that, but double Door Shadows, Theatar for a lot of their raiders. That's probably going to be a fairly popular strategy among like our guilds.
Yeah, getting through those Dosegni Halos, you can get over 2 of them if you wait for one to be about to spawn, and then you can do a good door. And it's really nice because it's really hard to cross over the Halos on Mythic because you do a little AoE around you.
Yeah.
So if every person that's using Door of Shadows or Blink or something makes it so that there's so much more space for the people who don't have that and who have to actually go over the Halos unironically.
And then beyond that, I mean, there's like a decent number of cool optimizations that they did on Prototype Pantheon. But I think most of those were almost comp related. And if you want, we can just...
Yeah, let's take a look here. So let's start by taking a look at the Echo comp. This is what they used on Prototype Pantheon. Again, you'll notice there's Affliction Warlocks. And one thing to note here is you can look at the 4-piece. They have 4-piece on 17 of the 20 raiders that they had in here. A couple of the raiders that are mains that weren't in for this fight also have 4-piece off of the bench. But... I mean, yeah, this is a lot of 4-piece. It seems really impressive. It's like, oh my god, how do they get that much 4-piece? But then we look at Liquid. Here's Liquid on the same boss. All 20 of Liquid's Prototype Pantheon characters are on 4-piece, which is just incredible.
I think the biggest thing, too... Okay, so first off, Liquid having all 20 of their players that were in on Prototype Pantheon having a 4-set is absolutely massive. I think that is quite good for them, especially since Echo... looking to flex a little bit different to different compositions. There's not a lot of differences in the two comps just generally. I think the biggest things to point out are like the healers. And I think that not having a disc priest is very notable. And they have 2, like, okay, so for Echo, they had 2 holy priests. For Liquid, they both had 2 holy priests. The only difference is like Resto Druid versus Holy Paladin.
Yeah. It's worth noting, again, one of the big strengths of the priest is you can play both holy and disc.
Yeah.
So you can switch between it based on which fight is important too. So a big strength of that class, and putting gear and putting tier on the priests is you're getting the holy priest and the disc priest. Whereas something like the holy paladin, the resto druid, that those are on different classes, right?
Yeah.
So you have to pick one.
So we knew from Heroic that Prototype Pantheon was a pretty massive healing check. That doesn't come as any surprise to you or myself. Now the question is, like, down the stretch is, like, how much value are we really going to see through Throughput HPS? Is Throughput HPS on Anduin, on, like, Ragolon, on these other very difficult healing fights, is, like, multiple, if not, like, even 3, potentially, in Liquid's case, Throughput healers really what should be played?
Or is it going to be about those cooldowns? Is it going to be about just getting as much of the damage reduction effects on those big Empowered Hopebreaker blasts in the last phase?
Yeah.
And then using disc ramps to top you afterwards? So those sorts of things are an open question, absolutely. And again, that 4 heal number, I mean, it is tight healing tuning for 4 healers.
Dude.
But it's tight DPS tuning that doesn't let you drop a healer or add a healer either.
Okay, so let's just talk about some general tuning of the raid. You already talked about Lihuvim a little bit. Man, that boss looks tightly tuned. We were watching Max's stream a little bit.
Yeah.
They had the whole room filled up with moats, and they hit the enrage. And it was not particularly close.
Yeah.
Obviously, we don't know the optimizations. We weren't watching, like, super thoroughly, so we don't know the optimizations that they can potentially make. Counting out a World First Guild is always a mistake. But...
it is a very common phenomenon where you see a guild wipe to enrage at like 20%, 10% or something, and you're like, oh, it's unkillable.
N'Zoth.
And it's like, it's not unkillable. Like, yeah, 25% on N'Zoth people. They were wiping, they're like, are we supposed to have killed it? Was that the enrage? And like, yes.
Does the boss die at 20?
Does
the boss die at 10?
Yeah. And so I think, yeah, it's always, they can squeeze more damage out. They can definitely get that thing lower. It is still a high amount of health to wipe to enrage at for an early boss, but that happened on Artificer as well. That happened on Skolex as well. Like, these guilds do not traditionally see enrage. Like, did they see enrage on the 9, right? Did they see enrage on those sorts of bosses in Sanctum of Domination?
No.
Not even close, right?
But
so it's just such a different texture of the raid.
I think that a lot of it's due to the fact that Blizzard fucking hates that we stopped DPS last patch, so they're gonna make us suffer, which is good.
Yeah,
very good.
I mean, I hate us up in damage, and So if you just make the DPS check and the enrage timer really tight, you can't stop damage because the enrage timer is too tight. And
I'm down.
yeah, I'm all about it because I hate the thing where it's like, okay, our progression timings, in order to preserve them, we just have to keep doing our progression DPS for all the farm.
Dude, so
and that
cringe.
is a nightmare.
Halandris, it got pulled a couple of times.
Yeah.
Man, it looked like, okay, I don't know the numbers on like how much DPS you're gonna need to kill that fight. I suspect it's going to be very high. Otherwise, guilds would have stayed on that instead of going to Lihuvim. But the reclaim, like the amount of HPS I think that's going to be required on that boss. Oh my fucking god!
I will say, okay, it always seems insurmountable. These mid-tier bosses, they always seem really hard. And then this time tomorrow, I bet we're going to be looking at 7 out of 11, 8 out of 11 even potentially. Maybe tomorrow is like half the day is taking out Lihuvim and Halandris. The other half of the day goes into Anduin. That's 8 hours of raiding. That's a lot of raiding, right? That is multiple nights for a lot of guilds.
Per boss, yeah.
But it is something that these guilds can put out in one day, right? And then we could be right back here tomorrow with guilds at 7, potentially even guilds at 8.
I think that I would be shocked if we have a guild that pulls Anduin by like this time tomorrow. Whenever
you don't think Anduin will be pulled by this time tomorrow? I'd take that bet.
Okay.
All right, we have our first wager of the.
We'll see. In 24 hours. Okay, so basically from like time of recording, Liquid is on Lihuvim at 19% enrage. We talked about that. Echo hasn't done anything. So Echo has effectively 16 hours. Liquid, I think we're giving them about...
Also 16 because they're going to have 8 of play, 8 of sleep, 8 of play again.
Okay, so we're giving both guilds about 16 hours. That's not like great. Okay, if it's going to be a guild, it's probably going to be Liquid. But
yeah, Liquid is in the lead by about half of a boss of Prague, maybe 3/4 of a Prague boss. Plus, they get to play first, but that won't matter for this bet.
I think, anyways, that's going to be very interesting. I think Echo's starting to finally catch up, though.
I mean, Echo had a better day 2 than Liquid did, right?
Yes.
Liquid got to 4 out of 11, 4.9 out of 11 by the end of their second day, and Echo got to 5, right? So they do need to catch up more, but they have been catching up. But on the other hand, they're expected to catch up. They have strats. They get to watch Liquid for as long as they're in second. They have that advantage. So I think they're doing, I would say it's roughly par. Like, I think it's hard to really say either Liquid or Echo are over or underperforming expectations at this point. I think they are both meeting expectations and blasting. And certainly I think the lineup relative to the other guilds as well. I do think we're going to start seeing the rest of the top 5 filling out with 4, filling out up to 5 even potentially by this time tomorrow. But I think that, again, that 1 boss or 2 boss gap will continue to exist between Liquid and Echo.
It's a minute and a half
or Liquid,
later.
Echo, and the rest.
It's a minute and a half later, and I'm already hating this fucking wager about the Anduin pull, by the way. Anyways, we're going to see you guys tomorrow. Which part of this Anduin wager do you guys fall on? Do you think that both Halandris and Lihuvim are going to fall down in 24 hours from recording this, or not? We will see you guys in the next video tomorrow. Goodbye. I'm pretty sure that wager's just wrong.
Yeah, you're super dumb.
Now that I really thought about it, I was like, oh, wait a second.
I'd hate to be you.